Hey, good morning. This is Jean here. Jean's Block Party 2019. This week we are doing block number 25 and block number 26. You saw block number 25? Fairly easy 9-patch with just a 4-piece unit here, but a very simple 9-patch. Now, I gave you a sneak preview of block 26. This block is a star block, obviously. It's a 2-color star block with a background fabric. How this is constructed is a 4-patch. I don't know if you can see that, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 patches in this block. This 4-patch unit, each 4-patch has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces in it to make up this star. And the 2 different colorways, I've put opposite. And then the lighter background. Now, why this was a little bit tough, the cutting is very small. You're cutting very small pieces, which I know you can do now. You got to take it easy. This is an organizational block. You have to really keep organized when you're making this block. And I'm going to tell you, I sewed this with a 1/4-inch seam. My stitches are lovely. I've pressed the seams open. I've stitched this block with a 1/4-inch seam. I should have perhaps used a scant quarter. Several blocks ago we did a scant quarter, which is 1 or 2 threads smaller than a 1/4-inch. And you usually use a scant 1/4-inch when you're dealing with quite a few seams, which this block has. The reason I say that you might want to use a scant quarter is at the end of the day, I ran out of fabric. My points will be cut off on this point here and that point there. This one's okay, that one's okay, that one's okay. This one's okay, but 3 or 4 of my points are going to be just slightly cut off when I go to put them in the seam, because I think after the fact that I was doing it, I didn't use a scant 1/4 inch. Now, we've gone over the scant 1/4 inch. You might, so I'm not, my tutorial is using a 1/4-inch seam. So you might want to, because this is before, you've seen the block and you see how I constructed, just err on the slightly smaller side so you will be able to get your points. If you don't, I've had a very, very busy week this week. So you must excuse me, I did not make the block over. It's fine. You know me. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not a serious quilter. Like, oh my goodness, my points are going to be cut off. This measures perfectly at 9.5 inches. But when I go to sew that, excuse me, into the seam, I would just cut these, about 4 of the points off, just slightly. And so I thought after I was doing it, excuse me, please. I thought after I was doing it, I should have done that a scant 1/4 inch. But then I didn't do it over. You know me. So it's so pretty. I love it. It's very pretty. 3 high contrast fabrics. So that's block number 26. And if you haven't gotten your little design board made up, you really need, as you will see my tutorial, it's a little bit in depth. You really see how I have to keep organized, and I have to keep going back to my design board to get this block done. It's sort of an intermediate block for you beginners. It's probably one of the hardest blocks you're going to make. But don't sweat about it. You're going to do your cutting, you're going to do your organizing, and then you're going to do your sewing. And the important thing is it's 9.5, whatever it ends up, it's going to be beautiful. I love my block. Really, really pretty. And I chose not to do it over again. I'm not sweating the small stuff. My point their point matches there. What I have done, oh, please excuse me. What I have done is I starched each unit very well. I pressed and starched and pressed very, very well this little star here. So it lays lovely and flat. The back is lovely. The back is lovely on my block number 25. So there's block 25 and block 26. I use my bright reds and whites. Real pretty. Love them, love them, love them. So again, just if you could remember that when you're constructing this, take it steady, take it slow. It's not a quick block. But look, we're 26 blocks in. I'm figuring you can do that. I didn't beat you up on this one. I beat you up a little bit on this one. So anyway, so that's it for this week. Thank you for following along. Have at it. And yeah, all the best on block number 26. And next week, we will see you next week for our next 2 blocks. All right, folks, thanks. See you, bye. So block number 26. I have to admit, block number 26 is the star. Hopefully you have seen this in the beginning. It is a little bit, it's not going to be hard, but we're working with small pieces. So you really have to take it slow and steady when you're cutting and when you're stitching, because it's a little bit of more of an interesting star. Now what we have here are 3 different fabrics. I'm using 2 different reds for my star. Sort of the same value, but a little bit of contrast. But obviously my background's going to be light. By all means, you could do a light colored star with a darker background, change it up a bit, but I'm just going to do being a bit more traditional here, and I'm doing a lighter background, which I'm calling Fabric A. Fabric A is I'm cutting 4 3.5-inch squares. Okay, there's my 4 3.5-inch squares, straightforward. But now I'm cutting 4 2 3/8-inch squares. Now 2 3/8 on our ruler. Don't mean to treat you like an idiot, but if you forget, our 2 3/8 is the line right before 2.5. 2.5 inches is 2.5 inches is 2 4/8. So 2 3/8 is the little line right before the 2.5. Okay, so you want 4 2 3/8 inches, 2 3/8-inch squares of fabric B. Excuse me, fabric A, fabric A, fabric A. Fabric B, 1/2 of our star, you want to cut 1 3 7/8-inch square. Again, our 7/8-inch square is the line right before the number 4. Right before. It's right after the 4, and it's right after the 3 3/4, and right before the 4. It's 3 7/8 inch. We want 1 square. We then want a fabric B 1 square, 4 1/4 inches. Quite straightforward. 1 of each. We're going to do the exact thing with fabric C. You're cutting 1 3 7/8-inch square and 1 4 1/4-inch square. So that is our initial cutting. Now what we are going to be doing is a little bit, you're going to go, oh my word. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our background squares, which are the smallest ones, the 2 3/8, and we're going to be cutting them. Actually, this is a stripe. Let me see how it happens if I put 2 one way and 2 the other way. Now I know we're going to be cutting 4 of our squares that we've cut at 2 3/8 on one diagonal. Okay? We're just going to be cutting them on one diagonal. And my stripes, I know, you know me and my stripes, whether they go the proper way or not, it's okay, it's fine. I'm going to just line that up and then line my ruler up. They're nice and together. And I'm going to cut these on one diagonal. Now that is a very small little unit that we've worked with, probably the smallest ever. So I just want you to put that aside for now. That's fabric A. Now fabric B, our 3 7/8-inch square, we're going to be doing this for fabric B and C, our smaller of the squares. We're going to be cutting our 3 7/8-inch square on one diagonal. Now remember, you put your ruler slightly inwards and your blade is on the diagonal. Open up your blade carefully, slowly. You're cutting your smaller piece on the diagonal. You're cutting your 4 1/4-inch square. Let me put that down here. In the frame here. Yeah. you're cutting your 4 1/4 inch square on 2 diagonals. So you're cutting, you're lining this up. You're cutting that on both diagonals. Your 4 1/4. You're going to be doing that exact same thing to fabric C. As you can see, we're working with quite a few units, quite a few bits here. So that's them. Now we're taking our 3 7/8 inch of fabric C and cutting that on one diagonal. Go slowly. It's not a marathon. And our 4 1/4 on 2 diagonals. So we are working with quite a few pieces in this star this week. Not necessarily a beginner block, but an intermediate. But I have faith that you guys can just follow along and we can put our block together. So there's our 4 pieces there. Now we're going to start constructing on our design board, a little bit intense. We're going to start in constructing our block, and you have to pay careful attention to this because there are quite a lot of units here. So what we want is one background in the corner. However, I have a stripe I have to figure out. And then you want one small, we're going to work with this star unit first. We want one small unit, one small piece there. And then you're going to take a small little piece of our background, and that's going to go there. And then another star unit there. And then another background background, which is going to go there. And then to finish this one star, we're going to take that. So it's basically a 4 patch made up of quite a few bits here. But we can do this. So now on the other side, what we're going to do is we're going to put this on one side, our block here, our square unit. We're going to take a small, we're doing alternating. We're doing alternating star colors. I'm going to be putting that there. I'm going to be taking a background. You can sort of rewind this, keep it as we'll put it over here, as much as you want to get the configuration of our star. I'm going to take another unit here, because it can be confusing. Actually, I can put this here. Yeah. And then another let me see, that goes that way. And then our big one. So we have this star here. Now I want this opposite. So we have in this block here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units in our 4 patch. So we're going to concentrate on our 6 units, but I am going to lay them out. Now I want this fabric B over here. So I'm going to take my block down here. I'll put that there. Hopefully it'll fit on my design board. I'll go this way with my stripes. And then I'm going to take a small one. Now this, you have to be very careful. And put that there. And then I'm going to take a background and put that there. I'm going to take one more of my small one, and I'm going to put that, let me see, I'm going to put that there to create this star. and another background, and then our large one. And there is our third blocked star. Okay? And we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to take for our other four patch. I'm going to put that there. You might want to just really keep notation of these, where these units go, and maybe just do one at a time, because it is a lot. It is a lot this week. But I have faith. So, let me just see. We are doing, is it that one? Oh, no, this one up here. Be very careful. I got confused. So there, and our last piece. Yeah, there. So now I might mess about visually. Can I do it? With this, there. See, they are going to go squiffy, but that's okay. Makes a little bit of movement. So there is my fairly intense block. It's fairly intense block this week. Lots of units. Lots and lots of units. But if we just break it down, you really do need your design board. You really, really do need your design board. Now, the actual construction of it. This is where you will want to be maybe absolutely using your pins and just work with one piece, okay? So what we're going to do, forget this unit right now, what we're going to do is we are going to sew, let me just see, we're going to sew this unit here, the bottom unit there, we're going to pin that and sew that, pretty sides together, okay? Because there's a lot going on here, right? So we're going to go and sew that unit right there. And then when that's sewn and pressed, we're going to sew this one on. Okay? And that will be making your 1/4 inch seam. Your little triangles, remember we did this a few blocks ago, your little triangles are hanging off. And that is what is making your 1/4 inch seam. Remember we did that? Remember we did that? That's what making your 1/4 inch seam here. So we're going to sew that like that. One here. You can't do them both at the same time. And then we're going to, when this unit is done here, we're going to take this piece and we're going to sew it. And you see the triangles hanging off. And then we'll sew this end bit on and we'll have our 4 patch. But I'm going to take this over to the machine and show you exactly on my design board how I'm going to sew that. This is our star. Our multi-unit star. Basic 4 patch, but a lot's going on. Probably the hardest block you'll have done. So I have it in front of me here, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be working with one unit, okay? So I'm going to be taking this, my stripes are going this way, yeah. So I'm going to be taking this piece here. Hopefully you can see. I'll take this piece here, and this piece here, and I'm going to put right pretty sides together. Now you will see that my triangles are hanging off. Okay, when I go to sew it. My triangles are hanging off. Go slowly, 1/4 inch. And right off. I'm just going to finger press that to the dark. Being very careful because it's a bias edge. I'm going to put it back on my board. And then I'm going to pick up this unit here, this darker star here, and I'm going to put that over to there. Now I finger press that, and you will see that this triangle bit is falling over, and that triangle bit is off. So I'm just going to start up there, and I'm going to go right off of this unit here. Finger pressing is good. Is okay. Right through the triangle and off the triangle bit. I have all these dog ears, right? But there, what does that form? That forms a beautiful 1/4 inch seam right there. So let's put it back on our design board. Don't get confused. There you go. And I'm going to finger press that. I'm going to finger press that. Oh, my stripes are a little bit off, but that's okay. Now what I'm going to do, having finger pressed that, I'm going to take my large bit of star, and I'm going to put it over pretty side to pretty side. And again, you will see the ends, the triangles, hanging off. You see that? These have been finger pressed enough, and what the aim is to keep that 1/4 inch seam there. Okay? These have been finger pressed enough. Just finger press that 1/4 inch seam and lay this on here, your large bit, with the equal amount of triangle hanging off. That's the important thing, and that will form another 1/4 inch seam. 1/4 inch right through there. You can feel it going over that intersection of seams, and then right off where the triangle is. Pulling it out gently. Got all these triangles, and there, finger press that way. Let's put it back on our design board. Back on our design board, finger press the edges. Finger press the edges, being careful not to skew anything. And then you're going to take your corner triangles, exact same thing. You're going to have corner triangles hanging off the same exact edge, same exact size, and we are going to be creating a 1/4 inch seam here. I hope this isn't too hard for you guys. It's just a matter of organization. Some blocks aren't hard. Take it slow. They're just, you have to keep organized. And the more complicated a quilt block is, the more organized you have to be. Not necessarily hard. So there we go. Put it back on my design board. Finger press that very carefully. And this is the last bit. This one here is the last bit of this one 4 patch. This one unit in our 4 patch. Keep that there. My triangles are hanging off exactly the same size. I've finger pressed that seam and 1/4 inch. And then right off, and then very carefully put it back on my board, and there is my sewn 1/4 of my star. There's my sewn 1/4 of my star. We will, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and very carefully set all of these seams as well as I can without skewing the bias, and then I'm going to press that really nice and square, and then we're going to trim that down, and then we're going to put the block together. But I'm going to go over right now, and I'm going to set these seams, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. Finger press this. So there, folks, is our 24 patch 4 patch. What I'm going to go press these really well, set my seams really well, and then square them up, and then we can put our block together. Here are my star units. I'm going to take it off my design board, and I'm going to configure them with each star color one way. Now, what we want to do, very, very important, because we have all of these dog ears, we have all of these units, we have this unit here, basically a 4-patch, right? And I just wanted to refer back to block number 1. Your very, very, very first block, right, you guys? It's a 4-patch, okay? And we are making a 4-patch, obviously with a lot more units in it. But a basic 4-patch. And when we did our block number 1, what did we do? We cut out 4 5-inch squares. Remember? 4 5-inch squares make up a 9.5-inch unfinished block. Okay, when that gets sewn into the quilt, it'll be a 9-inch square. It'll be a 9-inch block. But 9.5-inch raw edges. So you see that. Here's one fabric here, one square, and that is 5 inches. 5 to 5. It's raw edge. You see that? So what we want to do is we want to square these down to 5-inch squares. Now it's a little bit tricky because we don't want to lose these points. Now that point is a little bit lost, and that one is too, but I can't be bothered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the end degree of that one and that one. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, put them on my line, and try to save that point as much as possible. Go to my 5 inches over here, and my 5 inches over here, my 5 inches up there, and I'm going to take off this edge, which is a lot actually. What the heck? I don't know. What the heck? But I'm going to have a 5-inch square. It's okay on this side, and I'm just going to cut off that little dog ear, because we want to make these exactly 5 inches. That will get cut off that point. It's okay. It's all right. What do I always say? Oh my goodness, there's more to worry about than points on a quilt. So now, there's my 5 inches. That's it. I just want a perfect 5-inch square. Just slice off slightly there, and then slightly. There's my 5 inches, and there's my 5 inches, and that point's going to be okay. I'm just slicing off that dog ear. There are my squared up blocks. It looks a lot better, doesn't it? And now, go back, take it over, making sure your orientation is proper. Each star is opposite each other. So now what we're going to do is we're going to construct this just like we did our original lovely little 4-patch block here. But what we're going to do is we are going to have to match this point here, aren't we? But that is good. There's a 1/4 inch there, and there's a 1/4 inch there. There's a 1/4 inch there, and there's pretty good over here. So now, what we're going to do, making sure, we're going to pull this over here, and then you're going to make sure that that point, that little point there, matches up. Pin that there. They're all exactly 5 inches. And then hopefully that point will match up pretty good. And then I do this over, I do this the same thing, pretty side there, matching up that point there. And then we're going to come back and we're just going to sew this seam here, and it's this point here, and it's this point here, and it's that point there that we're going to be matching up. So I've sewn this seam together. It's a little bit off. You really can't tell. It's fine. So what I am going to do is I turn it around. I've not ironed anything. I am going to press this seam open. I am going to go over and I'm going to go press that seam all the way open, so that when we go to do the center block, we can match this point as best as possible. Don't fret about it. And we're going to match the center seam. It won't nest, it will match, hopefully, we're going to press this middle seam open. As you can see, I've stitched these together. I've set my seams and I've pressed them. I've pressed them open. And I have these little dog ears. They're fine. That's the red on the red. It's fine. So now, configuring them the way I want, press that center seam open. What I have to do is I just have to finish up sewing this middle seam here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put pretty sides together. And then I'm going to, it's not nesting, it's matching that center seam there, which is dark. This is not the most important one, but it's nice to get it, trying to get it pretty right. And then this, excuse me, this seam here and this seam here. And because it's dark, I think I can feel that it's going to be okay. And that one is about 1/4 inch and that one's 1/4 inch. So I'm not going to even pin it. I'm going to go up to the top very carefully with my 1/4 inch. I can feel that it's pretty good together. And you can hear my machine go through that intersection. And then through the middle. Oops. All my threads here. Through the middle where that seam is definitely together. Pull my pin out. Now come along here, and that looks pretty good also. And if it's a hair out like my others are, I'm going to cut my points off slightly. That's all right. That's fine. Goes right through that intersection slowly, slowly. And then right off. And then hopefully our block is finished. Oops. So let's see. Ta-da! That's a little bit off. And that's a little bit off. I'm absolutely perfect. I think it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It doesn't quite match there. I'm not bothered at all. I'm gonna set this seam. I'm gonna open it up. This is not a difficult, but it's a slightly more intense block. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to press this center seam open here. I think I'm going to press that seam open to make so my back looks just as nice as my front. And it's a little bit off, but it's perfect. It's just wonderful. It's a beautiful star block. We could have made this, I was looking at this, we could have made this a little bit easier. It could have been a triangle with a little snowball corner there, but I think this is a good exercise, even though it's a little bit more difficult and the points are a little bit harder to get cutting and working with smaller pieces. So I'm just going to go over, I'm going to open that seam up, I'm going to press it, and then hopefully it'll measure 9.5 inches. So there, ta-da, is my lovely star patch. Very interesting, very intricate block for you beginners, but I have faith in you that you can do it. Again, what are we doing this week? Organization. Let me see if it, let me see, because I'm going to cut off a few points there. That's pretty good. Oh, so I'm going to cut that point off. That's 1/4 inch, that's 1/4 inch, that's 1/4 inch, that's 1/4 inch, that's not, and that's not. It's fine. Let me just see. That's pretty good. Just so my finished block is 9.5. I'm not bothered. Maybe we should have used a scant 1/4 inch. Perhaps maybe that would have done it. I'm not sure why I didn't get my points are going to be a little bit cut off, but it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. You won't be able to see it. You know, it's not going to be glaring in our quilt block, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, there is our 4 patch, and I was thinking we have come so far. Haven't we, folks, from our block number 1. It's wonderful. Oh, it's lovely. So that's block number 26. Let me get here, block number 25 that we did here. This is block number 25. Block number 26. Where's my paper here? So there's block 25 and 26 this week. Again, sort of this one was very easy, as you can see. and that one was a little bit more intense. But the same beautiful, beautiful blocks that we're having, we're adding to our blocks. Block 25, 25, and 26. So I hope you enjoy making it. Take your time with this one. Maybe you'll get your points a little bit better than me, but who cares? It's wonderful. All right, folks, thank you ever so much, and we will see you next week for Jean's Block Party 2019, blocks 27 and 28. All right, see ya. Bye.